Do you like movies? Do you like Disney movies? More specifically, do you like the Disney animated features? Well, if you do, then you're at the right place, because in today's video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about my top 5 favorite Disney animated feature films. Get ready. This is going to be fun. How's it going, everybody? Shaun Allen here. I completely just messed that up. I'm sorry. I'm really recording this super late at night. I should probably be in bed right now, but you know what? I'm doing this for you guys, and I'm having a lot of fun doing these videos, so let's keep this going. So, in today's video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about my top 5 favorite Disney animated feature films. This is not going to be including any of the live-action versions of the films or any live-action movies from the past almost 100 years for Disney, so this is strictly for the animated features that Disney has released, and that's all I have to say. So, let's get on ahead now and talk about my number 5 favorite film, and that is Toy Story. Now, I'm pretty sure if you've lived in the 90s, in the early 90s, when the Pixar industry was just getting started, not many people knew about it, and other than maybe, say, Steve Jobs, because he helped create the place. But still, it's a very significant movie because it was Pixar's first feature-length CGI film. It wasn't their first cartoon, it was their first feature-length film. It was done by computers. It wasn't done by hand-drawn animation, unlike Disney, of course. I think I was one of maybe a few kids that never actually got to see Toy Story in the theaters. I literally have the VHS version of Toy Story, and just recently I purchased the DVD version of Toy Story, and watching it via widescreen was a much bigger difference because VHS is just squared, and you get these weird pans because it was originally widescreen, but when I got the DVD version, I got the widescreen, it was like, oh wow, that's even better. But still, watching it again recently was just incredible and just reminded me of my childhood. And I remember my friends talking about Toy Story. Even though I never got to see the film, I actually got to collect a whole bunch of the toys. In fact, when Toy Story 2 came out, this is no joke, I got to show this at some point, but I collected every single McDonald's toy from Toy Story 2. I have the entire collection, and if I can find the collection, I'll probably post it here on YouTube. But yeah, it was pretty crazy of me because I really got into Toy Story, and I was hoping for a sequel, and yeah, they came out with a sequel. But we're not talking about the sequel. We're talking about the original Toy Story film. I'm getting ahead of myself. So when Toy Story came out, it was of course a big hit for Pixar because it was of course their first feature-length film, and plus it was their first film with Disney. They came up with very memorable characters like Woody, Buzz, Mr. Potato Head, and Hamp. They had a whole bunch of sponsors like Hasbro. They had the Slinky Dog. They had Etch-a-Sketch. They had other toys in there. They had the Mattel characters and the Troll characters. So they had a bunch of course, Mr. Potato Head's a very popular toy that's been around for years. And over the years, of course, they've gotten more sponsors from different other companies, like Barbie. Anyways, yeah, they really just exploded with this toy business, and they really did an incredible job with Toy Story 1. Toy Story 2 was better. Toy Story 3, it went up and down. And of course, if you haven't heard, they're making Toy Story 4. And it's supposed to be about the relationship between Woody and Bo Peep. Yeah. That's going to be interesting. So yes, Toy Story is my 5th favorite Disney film. Now, I know it's further down the list than you would probably want it to be, but on my list, it's number 5, and now it's time for movie number 4. My 4th favorite Disney film happens to be Peter Pan. Yes, I used to dream about being Peter Pan and going to Neverland. Yeah, as any kid would. In fact, one Halloween I actually got to dress up as Peter Pan, and that was a fun experience. And, you can't dislike Peter Pan, right? Because it's a classic story where he takes Wendy, John, and Michael to Neverland, and of course, we got Tinkerbell right here. Whoops. You got Tinkerbell right here, his faithful companion, or should I say pixie. Do you have any pixie dust? Yeah, she's out. Anyways, yeah, so Peter Pan makes my top 5 list. It's not really a whole lot to say because I just enjoy the film. It's just fun to watch all the time, and that was my 4th favorite Disney film. Number 3 now happens to be, let's see, what was the third one? Oh yeah, so my third favorite Disney film happens to be Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Now you're probably saying to yourselves, Shaun, that's a princess film. Why is that one of your top 5 favorite films? Yes, I know that it's a princess film. I've seen a ton of princess films. I've seen Sleeping Beauty. I've seen Tangled. I have seen Brave. I've seen Frozen. I've seen The Little Mermaid dozens of times. Oh yeah, well, it's not a princess film, but it's Aladdin. I've seen Jasmine in it. I've seen Cinderella, obviously. I've seen The Princess and the Frog. I've probably seen every single princess film out there by Disney. So, oh yeah, and Pocahontas. Yes, I've seen Pocahontas. One of the main reasons is because it was Walt Disney's first feature-length animated feature film. And not only that, but it also happens to be the first U.S. feature-length animated film. The first for the U.S. Not in the world, but in the U.S. I think the first one in the world happens, I think it was in, I think Saudi Arabia. I think that's right. I have to look through my history books. But yes, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was America's first feature-length animated cartoon. That's pretty cool, right? And you can go to see the theater right now in Disney California Adventure, the Carthay Circle. You can see that because that's where they premiered the Snow White and Seven Dwarfs film. Not the one in Disney California Adventure. That's a replica. But yeah, it's supposed to be the original. But it's pretty cool. I think it's very cool history. I'm trying to remember how long it took. I think it took them like 7 to 8 years to make that. That's a long time. And a lot of animators too. So yeah, he was committed into making this film. And he had a whole bunch of very famous actors like watching the premiere of this film. And what's really interesting is that from what I've read, he wasn't inside the theater when they premiered the movie. He was outside the theater because he was literally biting his nails because he didn't know if they would like it or dislike it. Well, guess what? It got a huge round of applause, and even Charlie Chaplin was moved by the film because he was in the audience. So it's a very cool film. If you guys have never seen Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, it's a very, very cool flick. And believe it or not, it's going to be, like, in 20 years from now, it's going to be 100 years old. Because that film was released in 1932, I think it was. 1932, 1933. So, yeah, it's 2016. So, in a few years from now, it's going to be 100 years old. Wow. But, hey, Snow White's looking pretty good for her age right now, right? Alright, so what is my second favorite Disney film? Well, it just so happens to be Alice in Wonderland. Not the live-action one, the cartoon version of Alice in Wonderland. And why did I like Alice in Wonderland? Again, it's a fun film. I enjoy it. Yeah, I know it's about a girl going into Wonderland, but hey, I like Alice in Wonderland. It's a fun story. I've read the novel. In fact, I read it recently. In fact, I started reading the sequel, Through the Looking Glass. You know, I didn't realize that there was another story with Alice, Through the Looking Glass. And I'm preparing myself for the film when, hey, you know what? I'm actually recording this the day the film premieres. May 27th. That's when I'm filming this episode. I just realized that. Perfect timing. So yes, my second favorite film from Disney, the animated movies, is Alice in Wonderland. Again, it's a fun story. My grandfather originally recorded it off of his VHS tape recorder off the television. This was back in the day when we used to watch videos on this television via VHS tapes. And it's a little bit of history that not many people get to experience now. But yes, we used to record on VHS tapes from the television onto tapes and watch them at home. I watched it all the time at Grandma and Grandpa's house. But there was another film that they recorded off the television that happens to be my #1 favorite Disney film. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you know what film I'm talking about if you've been watching my Disneyland video series for a while now. What is my #1 favorite Disney animated feature film? Well, there's kind of a big clue right now because one of the toys on my display is missing. In fact, I've got him right here. My #1 favorite Disney animated feature film is, of course, Dumbo. Yes, Dumbo is my #1 favorite feature-length animated film by Disney. Dumbo and I go back quite a ways. You see, I think Dumbo was actually my very first Disney movie that I ever watched. And at the point when I was watching Dumbo, I was going through a really rough period. For a 4-year-old, that's kind of sad, but I still remember it. At that time in my life, when I was 4, my mom's dad developed a very bad heart condition. He had a heart attack, I believe it was. And it was pretty bad. He was at the hospital for a number of days, maybe a couple of weeks. And even when my grandfather was at home, he was very sick. And I remember watching the tape, the VHS tape, on television. This is before we had DVDs, by the way. I can't tell you how many times many times I watched it, because I watched it so many times, but it kept me occupied while my mom was talking to her mom during that time period, and I watched it so often, and I think even when I turned 5, it was in December of either 94 or 95 when grandfather passed away, and it was still very hard. But this guy Dumbo here, helped me get through that, and it basically got me through that time period. And for a while, I didn't really watch Dumbo after that, because I started not really losing interest, but I just didn't watch it that much anymore. Then I started going to homeschool, and I was more focused on my education. And it wasn't until, if you guys have been around since my first Disneyland vlogs, back in the day when I was at the Disneyland Hotel for the 3-day experience, before I left, I actually went into their Fantasmic store there in the Disneyland Hotel, and they were selling the DVD at the time, and I purchased it, and I watched it, and all the memories just came back. So, and of course, I can't forget about Casey Jr. here, because I just loved the song from that. From that, not only the attraction, but also from the movie. Dumbo's movie was so popular back in 1941 that I believe it was Time magazine was going to feature an image of Dumbo on their cover image for the December issue. But if you guys know your history, in December of 1941, we were attacked by Japan at Pearl Harbor, so they had to replace his image with an image from Pearl Harbor. Simon, hang on a second. Even though we weren't really in World War II at the time when Dumbo was released, Disney was still making a bunch of cartoons and items that related to World War II, like selling bonds and helping out with the war effort. And if you've seen Dumbo, there's actually a little image where it looks like they built bombers or planes based off of Dumbo, even though we weren't really in World War II at the time. But it's still a very interesting film, and I highly recommend if you guys want to see something worth watching. So, with that, Dumbo is my #1 favorite Disney animated feature, because he got me through my hardest time, and yeah. And it's funny because I did hear about not the remake, but the live-action version of Dumbo that'll be coming out sometime in the future here. And, I was trying to figure out, they hadn't picked a director at the time when I first heard the announcement. And I was like, they should get Tim Burton to do the movie. And when I found out that he was actually directing it, like a month or so later, I was like, this is going to be an amazing flick. If you guys haven't seen the Alice in Wonderland films he's done, wow. I mean, he's going to do a fantastic job with Dumbo. And, yeah. So, alright, on that note, thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you liked it, please be sure to hit the thumbs up button, favorite the video, share your friends, and of course subscribe to my channel, the Disneyland Video Series. Be sure to check out my previous episodes of Mealtime in Disneyland, my ride reviews, my vlogs, and Disneyland Home episodes. And be sure to check out my other channels as well. It's greatly appreciated. And that was my top 5 favorite Disney animated feature films. In my next video, I'll probably talk about my top 5 favorite live-action movies from Disney and all that fun stuff. Alright, see you guys next time here on the Disneyland Video Series, and I hope your day was a magical one. Bye-bye!